125 people put their details in. I followed up, ended up signing 12 coaching clients.
Wow.
Full time. So my income
You
went
converted 10% of that room. That's huge.
Yeah. So my income went from like $200 a month to over 10,000 within like about 2 weeks.
In one event.
In one event. I didn't realize it, but the offer was an irresistible one. I am literally one presentation away from a breakthrough in my business. If I can dial that presentation in and deliver it to a group of people, I can get a breakthrough fast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Chris Harder Show, where we are making you unapologetic about your pursuit of success, knowing that when good people like you make good money, they can then do great things. My name is Chris Harder, and several times per week, I will bring you epic guests, solo episodes, and every single tool, trick, and skill set you need to grow your business, grow your money mindset, and to grow your wealth to levels that you have never reached before. I've ended up in a unique place in life where I've got the experience, the connections, and all of the secrets that it takes to be successful. And I'm lifting the curtain to reveal it all to you in an effort to help put you in a position of abundance so great that you can then be as generous as possible. So let's lock arms and let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chris Harder Show. Today, I'm sitting down with a good friend of mine, Colin Boyd. Now, Colin is awesome because he helps entrepreneurs craft better stories in order to convert way more sales on stages or podcast appearances or even social media. And that's exactly what we're going to teach you today. This is not just like a passive interview. We're going to teach you the ins and outs, like how he converted hundreds of leads from the very first time he stepped on stage. Play by play, what did he do to convert those leads? We're also going to teach infusion selling, where you're seamlessly weaving sales into any speaking opportunity that you have. We're going to go over lots of strategies for getting on stages and for getting on large podcasts and for pitching yourself, because that in itself is an art, to be able to get tapped to step on the stages or the podcasts that you really want to be on. And we're going to talk about his new book, which teaches all of this in depth. It's called One Presentation Away, and it's freaking awesome. So you're going to love everything about this episode. One of my favorite things about Colin is that he's so generous. He comes and he teaches at some of our masterminds. He literally brings you through workshops where he shows you how to bring out your signature story, how to do certain mic drop moments where you really lock in the sale with your audience, how you move them from a list that you're renting for the moment to a list that you control and you're able to sell to later. And he graciously comes and teaches at our masterminds doing this. And if you want to get into our new Mentor Collective Mastermind, we're going to open up the doors in early September. That's right, early September. Now, you might be like, oh, that seems like a couple months away, big deal. Except we're only going to open up to a certain number of members, because remember, that's the one where we hire lots of coaches so you get all of the unlimited one-on-one attention that you want. Because of that, we can only let so many people through the doors each time. Very limited number. So front of the line counts here, folks. If you want to be in our Mentor Collective Mastermind, for anybody that has a business earning under $500,000 right now, with all of the training and all of the teachings that gets you over $500K and above, then right now hit pause and go to chrisharder.me/mentor and throw yourself on the wait list. I'm not kidding. You got to get on the wait list. Otherwise, you got no chance of getting one of these spots in September. Hit pause and go to chrisharder.me, that's .me, chrisharder.me/mentor. Then come back to this episode because Colin is about to blow your mind. All right, well, Colin, it's great to have you here in the podcast studio. How you doing, buddy?
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited because, I mean, you came all the way in from Australia. I know you bounced back, forth, all the way from Australia just a couple of days ago to do this and some other things. So I'm honored.
Yeah, dude. It's good to be back in Newport. And so, I mean, stunning day, good company, ready to go.
That's awesome. So give me one advantage that Newport has and one advantage that Australia has, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening and kind of their dream is, I want to live in two places. I want to have my business in two places. I want to live internationally part of the time, right? Like now that we can travel with these types of businesses so freely compared to 10, 20 years ago, that's the dream for a lot of people. So what's the best part of Newport? What's the best part of Australia?
Well, I grew up in Australia. We spent the last basically decade in Newport Beach. And now we're kind of going in between. So we've got a company in the US, company in Australia. And I would say best part about Newport, California is just obviously the sun, the beaches.
But when I think of Australia, I think of sun and beaches.
So basically, there's a theme.
Yeah.
The theme is sun
In
and
other
beaches.
words,
Yeah.
the best
So-
part here is sun and beaches, and
Yeah.
the best part there is sun and beaches.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, America in general just has this mindset of expansion, which I just resonate with so much, which is one of the reasons why we came here originally. So I would say just being in Newport, the opulence, the expansion, the thinking, the exposure, like it's just energetically, it just pushes you to another level.
Yeah.
And then Australia is a bit more like it's very grounded, very centered, very family, very safe. Like, so it's got a beautiful, peaceful feeling about it. So, you know, and so having both is nice.
You have the best of both worlds. And to me, that's balance. You have the best of both ends of the scale, right? Come here, you get all driven, go back there, and you plant your feet in the sand, literally, and do the things that are most important in life. And that's really cool life. Now, here's why I ask. Here's why I frame it this way. I already said a lot of people, they kind of want that life. But more importantly, you have to set your business up to be able to live a life like that. So do you mind lifting the curtain a little bit and talking about how did you set up your business, an incredibly successful one, by the way, in a way that you can bounce back and forth like that? Because we're not talking like between here and Texas or here. These are two opposite ends of the world with time zones being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, obviously we've got companies in both countries at the moment. I've been running my coaching business. I started as a life coach 17 years ago.
Wow.
And so built my business for about 10 years. Then we moved to the US about 10 years ago. And only recently we've kind of done the two. But I would say, I mean, for us, I've gone in between because I have a love for experiences, which I know you and Laurie do as well. And so when I started out, you know, I was doing in-person one-on-one coaching in hotels and hotel lobbies, flying out and doing corporate events and speaking and running workshops. And I loved that until I didn't, because I was just on the road all the time.
Yeah.
And then digital courses got released. And then I started, you know, selling online courses and started doing webinars. And I was teaching productivity actually. So my first angle was teaching productivity to naturally unproductive people.
Okay.
So
that's me.
Yeah. So like think like ADHD, you know, distracted all the time.
I feel that.
And I kind of built a course for me.
But no one paid attention to the course.
No one could like focus long enough to actually buy it. But for me, that was kind of a start for it. And then we came to the US and that's all I was doing. And then about 3 years being in the US, I had a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches come up to me and say, I love what you're doing in the productivity stuff, but how do you speak? Like, I love the way you communicate when you stand on stage. And how are you doing your
You said
sales?
simple, it's the accent.
Yeah.
So you did a course on how to have an Australian accent, and everybody suddenly met more girls and more boys, and
Yeah. And I was just very blessed at the time because we built Self From Stage Academy, which is our flagship program, and I was close with James Wedmore.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Dude, legend. He absolutely changed my life. Like fun, like I would be nowhere near where I am right now without him. And he was like, oh, let me promote it. And it was the second time I'd ever promoted it. The first time was like a beta launch. And then the second time James, you know, promoted it, which was amazing. And it just exploded since then. And then so basically my journey has been now just teaching, speaking, and selling from stage.
I'm going to go there in a minute, but talk to me about mentorship and what it means in one's journey. Because, you know, I mean, the way that you just opened up about James and saying, oh my God, it changed everything for me. As a mentor, what did he do specifically that you needed?
I feel like there's different types of mentors at different stages. I would say when I was first starting out, like, you know, 0 to 500,000, I needed a lot of direction.
Okay.
And a lot of like, this is how an expert business is set up. This is how a coaching business is set up. This is how you set up a digital course. Like, so like a lot of kind of tactical practicals.
Yeah.
And then 500 plus to millions, multi-millions, it's really just creating space, I would say, and access. And so for me, what James did for me and other mentors in my life has been, he just held and showed like what was possible. You know, like he would, you know, basically challenge a limiting belief or, you know, oh, like you think you can't make $100,000 in an hour on a presentation or $500,000 in an hour. And he's like, you know, he would just challenge it. And so I would say, because I feel like a lot of the time, sometimes people want to be in masterminds, but sometimes they actually need more directional coaching. And I would say for me, usually as you kind of scale up, the more it becomes about a mastermind, which is just access and vicinity and thinking. But a lot of the time you might need some more tactical stuff at the start, it's just part of the journey. So yeah.
That's a really good explanation, by the way, of how to choose if you need a mastermind or if you need a coach.
Yeah.
Do you need the tactical, practical, hands-on? That's probably mentor coach.
Yeah.
Do you need connections, bigger thinking, bigger, let's call it peers, that kind of thing? That's a mastermind. And I feel like you need both at different parts of the journey.
And I think it's how the mentor sets it up as well. Because sometimes they will call it a mastermind, but it's actually set up as a group coaching structured process.
Yep.
But sometimes people they want to be in a mastermind, but it's like they don't need that yet. They actually need a bit of directional coaching. And so like I run a group coaching business. I don't run a mastermind at the moment, but I run a group coaching business, and we have 10 weeks of basically hand-holding about how to get your presentation set up, how to get everything, all the foundations set up to actually do the next thing. Where when I ran a mastermind, it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
We just talked about
whatever was important in the moment.
Totally.
Talk to me about the program that you have right now. And there's people listening, maybe they're going to end up joining this thing. You say it's 10 weeks of tactical, practical, taking you from I've got no message to here's my story. And that's what you do better than almost anyone I've ever met in my life. I mean, you came to our elite level mastermind and you spent half a day teaching that and workshopping it, and they freaking loved it. So what does that program look like? Do you enroll it every 10 weeks? Walk us through that kind of product.
Well, I mean, for us, how we've set up our business, and this works for us at the moment, is we've got a signature curriculum, which is Sell from Stage Academy. And this is a great structure for a lot of expert businesses. A signature curriculum, it's around that $2,000. So anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 mark.
Okay.
Anyone can buy in at that level, most people. And so that's more foundational curriculum, tactical how-to with a little bit of coaching and community. And then those people who love that experience, there is what we have a program called Sell from Stage Elite. And essentially it's the implementation of the curriculum.
Okay.
And so it's like accountability, coaching with me, new masterclasses, some in-person experiences. Like it's a culmination of it, but it's a lot more accountability. We've got like a process map that people move through to implement it. And they have like one-on-one coaching help and all that sort of stuff. So that's typically people are around the $5,000 to $10,000 mark a month when they join something like that. And then the goal is to obviously scale them up. So
talk to me about entrepreneurs and the importance of them learning how to truly present their story, because I feel like most of the time entrepreneurs wake up every day and they work on their marketing, or they work on their ads, or they work on their product, or they work on their social media. And rarely do they wake up and say, oh, I should really work on my storytelling. So what's the importance of making that a priority?
Well, I think, to be frank, even as AI is just dramatically increasing right now, with the increase of AI, which is it's artificial. It's got it in its name. It's artificial intelligence. With the increase of AI, I think there is also a swing towards authenticity. And I think your story is one of the secret weapons of uniqueness that everyone has.
Yeah.
And as much as, you can create a story in artificial intelligence, your personal story and the feelings, the emotions, the energy that comes from it, nothing can replace that. Yeah. And so I would say storytelling is going to become more important as artificial intelligence increases. And storytelling for me does three things if you do it right, which is what I call a conversion story, which is the thing we got to mastermind on, which is first of all, it connects with the audience's hearts. And so it answers a question, which is, are you like me? And so if you can share some sort of vulnerability, challenge, difficulty, whereas like you started off just like me, I'm just like you, but I've also achieved something that is pretty cool and pretty inspiring, which is the credibility piece, but you can also lead me.
Yeah.
So that juxtaposed position of
that's a hard line to walk sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, if you can balance that right, like that's charisma.
Yep.
As well. Because if you can get the balance of vulnerability, I'm just like you, but I'm also a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's not ego driven. It's I've actually done something. And it's like, I'm grounded, but I'm also incredibly certain in what I do. And you get that balance right. It's just beautiful. And so a good story does both of those things. And then the final piece is it leads to some sort of really poignant, like core idea. So I refer to it as a core premise, which is usually that one idea that if people can get that idea, then working with you is the next step. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Can you go back to the vulnerability combined with authority? I don't want to just skip over that because this is like, how do you tell someone, hey, I've done a little bit more than you and I can lead you, but at the same time, be vulnerable and meet them where they're at? Can you actually give a story? Can you give your own story? Not to put you on the spot, like show us that in action.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I remember I was sitting at I had this old brown wooden desk. It literally had 3.5 legs. And the bottom right was being held up by phone books. And I'm sitting at my desk. I'm a life coach. And I had all these dreams of wanting to start a life coaching business and make an impact and help people and make great money, have freedom.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I had half a client. I don't know if you've ever had half a client, but like one of those people who turns up every second time and pays you every third time.
Yeah.
So I had half a client and I didn't know how to get more clients. And I remember I had got a phone call from a friend at the time on my home phone. And he said, hey, we've got an event. He said, I'm supposed to speak at an event that's coming up. And he said, I can't do it. It's a pro bono event. It's free. And he said, could you do it? And I was like, I'd never spoken professionally before. I'd spoken at college and school and stuff like that, but never like as a coach. And so I said yes. And even though I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I remember that coming into it, I had all the thoughts of like, will I be credible enough? Will I be good enough? Will they like me? Will they boo me off stage? Will my content resonate with them? And I remember going up that evening, my wife, Sarah, she comes up with me and the event organizer sees me and he runs over to me and he's like, Colin, this is the biggest night we've ever had. Like we've got 137
no
people
pressure
in the room. Yeah, he was like so excited. 137 people in the room. They're all come out to see you. Biggest event we've ever had. We're so excited to have you here. So in my mind, this is like the worst news of the night because I'm just thinking, oh, great, I'm going to look stupid in front of their biggest audience. So that night I did the presentation. At the end, I made an offer and that was my first ever speech. And I didn't realize it, but the offer was an irresistible one. And so out of the 137 people, 125 of them put their like details into a little fish bowl that I'd bought at like a 99-cent store. And 125 people put their details in. I followed up, ended up signing 12 coaching clients.
Wow.
Full time. So my income
You converted 10% of that room. That's huge.
Yeah. So my income went from like $200 a month to over $10,000 within like about 2 weeks.
In one event.
And that sparked something in me of like, I can literally go from almost nothing to a full stack of clients in one experience. And then that's when I got obsessed about just speaking more.
Yeah.
And so I started applying to speaking events locally, started doing virtual events and, webinars. And then basically that led to the whole experience of me going that I am literally one presentation away from a breakthrough in my business. If I can dial that presentation in and deliver it to a group of people, I can get a breakthrough fast. And then it's led to me now coaching the biggest people in the world on it. Like some of your friends like Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher, Kerry Green. I've worked with incredible people.
And they all rave about you.
And it all started in that one experience.
You just demonstrated exactly what you were talking about. And I hope people caught it. You started by being very relatable. You joked about you had a half a client. Has anyone ever had a half a client, shows up every other time, pays every third. And right away that grounded you. And then you talked about this first speaking opportunity is pro bono. You haven't gotten paid yet. And you even painted the picture that you were nervous because they had a record turnout. And everyone looks at you now and they think he would never be nervous. So you brought us right back and we're like, okay, he's just like how I'm feeling right now. And then you gave the breakthrough moment, the put everybody's contact into a fishbowl. Wasn't sure where you're going with that one, by the way. Thought that was one of these Newport swingers parties. But put everybody's contact into keys in a fishbowl, and then you pulled it out and you converted 10% of the room and made, over $10,000 a month from making just hundreds of dollars a month. And all of a sudden, boom, that was the authority. And it wasn't just the authority because, and I hope people catch this, you didn't just set authority by saying, oh, look at how much I started making. You showed that you must have done something mysterious that was a system. And that was the authority piece. It made me say, wait a minute, what'd you have them put in the fishbowl? What did you say when you took these contact info out of the fishbowl? And why did it convert? And that, to me, that mysterious system was the authority that I wanted to learn about.
Well, that story is my conversion story.
Yeah.
And I've got a few versions of those, but to be honest, people only really need one.
Yep.
And you usually have one per offer.
Okay.
So depending on the vehicle of what you deliver, so my vehicle at the moment is presentations.
Yeah.
So it's story and speaking are the two main core vehicles. So that story, it's a real story, but it articulates the vehicle of what I help people with.
Yeah.
So I think everyone needs to work on their story to go like, what is the story that best articulates the vehicle that I help people with? And that could be, a breakthrough in a mastermind. Like if you run masterminds, you share a story about a breakthrough you had in a mastermind and the result that had, and it's like now you facilitate masterminds. It could be whatever. Maybe you teach Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And it's like, I started this Facebook group, it got engaged and I signed all these clients. It's a whole bunch of things. I have clients who teach like neurodivergence, emotional management in their kids, like neurodivergent kids, families, how they got breakthroughs in those. So depending on what vehicle you have, you're going to have a different conversion story. But yeah, a good story should do those three things: connects with the audience, vulnerability, shows the credibility, and then leads to some sort of like breakthrough with a clear idea that's articulated at the end. And it should do it seamlessly.
We're going to get to your book in a little bit, but is this stuff in the book?
Yes.
This is good. It's like, right, guys, the book you hear about in a little bit, like, just if you want to learn this, go get that damn book. All right, so here's where I want to go with this. Entrepreneurs being able to really hone in on their conversion story. Where do they use this? Podcasts, stages, I'm guessing. Paint all of the places that once we learn the story, we can use it.
I mean, it's almost endless because I think for me, because I teach speaking, my first thought is podcasts, speaking events, webinars,
sales pages. When you teach on other people's masterminds. I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere.
Videos, everywhere. That story I just told, I've probably told it 3,000 times.
Wow.
Like literally.
Wow.
Now I tell it different. Like I told it different then to how I told it last time. There's always a little nuance just to keep it fun for me.
Sure.
But I always try to, and this is one of the challenges I think in being a content creator, an expert, is you can get bored with your own content. And for me, I always try to think about what's the experience that the audience is having of the content, not what experience am I having. And so the more I try to focus on other people, even when I speak, the more I focus on other people and I'm like, how are they feeling? What are they experiencing in this story rather than oh my gosh, I got to tell this stupid story again. Yeah. Because I hear a lot of people say that, oh my gosh, I got to tell my story again. But my story, even though my story that I just told then is about me, it's actually not. It's about the listener. And the goal is to tell your story, but for them to feel theirs.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is interesting because I don't know about you, but among some of our friends, among some of our peers, I'm seeing a shift in launches. I'm seeing a shift in sales. I'm seeing a shift where all of a sudden, like overnight, it's gotten tougher. Tougher to put people in programs, tougher to sell courses, tougher to fill your mastermind, tougher to do anything. And I mean, from the tippy top, I'm seeing it down to those who are just beginning. Yeah. Are you seeing that in your world?
I am, because I think like AI is a massive disruption.
Yep.
Content in general is becoming more of a commodity. But I think that there are ways that you can start to like AI proof yourself. And what I mean by that is people want accountability, because as much as AI is great, it really doesn't give you the accountability that a human can give you.
Yeah.
It can give, sure, you could say
it can check up on you.
It can check up on you.
But you don't feel like, accountable to it.
Whatever.
Yeah. Whatever, robot. Yeah. Stop judging me.
Totally. So like accountability, connection, which I know you guys have done a lot of lately and leaning into, like connections and experiences, coaching. So as much as AI can give you coaching, it's different getting it from a person.
Yeah.
And having that person really see you and see something bigger in you. Like only a human can truly do that. The short of it is I think that offers are changing, offer experiences, what people are wanting is changing. And so at the moment, I mean, I've been, similar to you, I've been doing this for a long time, 17 years now. I've been through many ups and downs and many shifts in the economy and moving from Australia to America and back and all that sort of stuff. So for me, if you want to do this long term, part of it is you just got to keep going and showing up.
Yeah.
And if you keep going and showing up, you come through it. And in times of uncertainty, if you show up as a leader, like people look to you even more. Like there's such an opportunity here. So yes, you've got to combine, and we're doing that as well with our offers, combining AI and all that sort of stuff into it. But at the core of it, it's that perseverance, that grit of going, I'm not a flash in the pan. Like I'm freaking here for the long term. I want to be 75 and sitting here with you and,
exactly.
having a tequila and chatting business and stuff like that, doing a podcast at 75.
Except it's going to be in my incredible, like car warehouse that's set up as like this great man cave. And we'll just have great conversations about all the shit we built.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, for me, it's like, I'm not here for a flash in the pan. So yes, it's challenging, but I think you might have to adjust costs. You might have to adjust a few things, but just stick it out and you'll be good.
Talk to me about speaking on stages. When do you do them for free? Not you literally. I mean, the person listening. When should they be doing them for free? When should they start charging? Once you start charging, should you ever not do it again? Like for free? Like what's the advantage to being on a stage aside from the obvious? And is it really a moneymaker?
Well, for me, speaking, the skill of speaking is, first of all, one of the most profitable skills you can ever work on. There's a few profitable skills in entrepreneurship. Speaking is one of the top.
Yep.
And so there's kind of two avenues people go on. There is the paid to speak or speak for free and get paid on the back end.
Yeah.
The second, you earn a lot more money.
I agree.
The paid to speak, which is how I started. I used to do a lot of corporate events. Speak at like companies, whether it be local companies, and then got to more globals like Coca-Cola, Fuji, Xerox. I worked with HP for like 10 years all around Asia Pacific. And yeah, it was good. Paid $10,000 a presentation kind of thing. And you think, what? You can get paid $10,000?
$10,000 to be up there for 45 minutes.
An hour?
But that's
45?
Not the truth.
The truth is you still got to fly to the place.
Exactly.
And all that, and the preparation. And so you got to see it in context. And you got to travel, you got to be away from your family. Like there's a whole gamut of that. But for me, the paid to speak, I've done that and it was good. It was like, you can still earn great money, but the speak for free and be able to get the right type of clients on the back end, that's where the real money is. And whether that be on a virtual stage, like a webinar or something like that, like literally, a week ago, I had 550 people live on the webinar. And we made, a bunch of money.
That's awesome.
And so for me, speaking for free is personally the best way to grow your business. And when I say speak for free at, could be a mastermind.
Yep.
It could be, I've spoken at so many, into so many communities. Like I know I've spoken to your community. Yep. I've spoken into like Amy.
And you got customers from speaking into my community.
I got great customers.
Yep. Phil and Trish, a bunch of others.
Absolutely. And so for me, I mean, I still get customers every single week from things that I've spoken into years ago because they asked me to come and share on one topic and you do just a lead magnet or something like that. And if you speak in the right way, people they'll want to work with you. And I remember actually I spoke at a James Wedmore event and this was when he was running BBD Live and when he was in Laguna here. And I remember I spoke and it was what I call a no sell, which is basically there's no offer, no pitch, no opt-in, nothing at the end. But if you do it the right way, obviously you get off the stage, you come down, people will come up, they want to speak to you, but then they go, how do I work with you?
Yep.
Like you've got something that I know I need to learn. I remember this woman, she came up to me and she literally gave me her physical credit card, put it in my hand and she said, I don't know what you sell, but I know I need to buy it.
Wow.
And like
I
that's
said, well, what a coincidence. I've got my $250,000 package with one opening, ma'am.
one opening, yeah. That was actually when I was launching Sell from Stage Academy the first time. So she ended up being a part of the beta. But that's the goal, is like whenever you speak, no matter what, people go, that was amazing. And how the heck do I work with you?
Yeah.
Right? If you resonate with that person, the goal is not for them to go, and this is one of the mistakes that people make when they speak, is they give way too much content, completely overwhelm the audience with 250 things to do. And then the audience just kind of just procrastinates on everything.
Yeah.
So, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
I'd be curious to get your take on this. I always say doing a good job speaking is like having a really good opt-in. And that is an opt-in should only move the needle on one thing really quickly and really well. And I think if you can go on stage and move the needle on one thing really quickly and really well for people, then they're going to want everything else. But if you're like, here's my 24 steps to blah, blah, blah. Step 6 is, you don't do anything. It's like too much.
Yeah. Like give me 3 steps.
Yeah.
Max.
Yep.
In an hour kind of thing. Yeah.
Talk to me about selling from stage, selling on a podcast, selling into a mastermind group, doesn't matter how. I feel like there's 2 categories of people. There are those who can speak real well, but they can't sell for shit. There are those that are great salespeople, but they can't speak for shit.
Yeah.
And what you do so well is you turn these 2 people into one person, someone who can speak really well and sell really well. So let's kind of clear up the cobwebs on people that are afraid to sell. What's your tip? What's your advice on that?
Well, first of all, and I go deep on this in the book,
Yep.
is this mindset of how to view selling in general. So first of all, selling, and even the word selling is, I don't love that word, even though that is one of the names of our programs and stuff, because for me, selling is simply an invitation for someone to commit to themselves at a greater level.
Okay.
And so when you sell something, essentially you're saying, I've created a space, I've got an offer, a program, a course, whatever it is, a product. I've created this space and it's a protected space. And it's protected because I want to keep it pure, I want to keep it sacred, I want to keep it powerful. And it's protected by a few things. It's protected by money, it's protected by time, and by energy. So there's 3 currencies of commitment, which is time, energy, and money.
Time, energy, money. Yep.
You either have to pay a little bit of money or a lot of money. You either have to put in a lot of time or a lot of energy. Time, money. What did I say? Time, money.
Time, money,
Yeah, time,
energy.
money, yeah, or a lot of time.
Yep.
Yeah, or just a lot of time. And so the higher the barriers are in those 3 things, the more sacred the room becomes, the more sacred the offer becomes. And so what I mean by that is, I'm in a mastermind at the moment. It's actually not a huge investment, but there's a commitment level and a time level. And when I say commitment, there is a level of, you have to be earning a certain amount of money. So you have to have shown a level of commitment in your life to even qualify to be in the room. And so that's what makes it sacred. That's what makes it protected as well. And so when people think about selling, the first thing to think about is going, I'm just inviting people to commit to themselves at a greater level.
This is where a lot of people get hung up, is they think, oh, I'm afraid to make that offer. So they leave it for like a 10-second little suggestion at the end. Hey, by the way, I've got this thing if you want to buy it.
Yeah.
Or they think, oh, it's icky to sell. Or they think, oh, I'm somehow being bad by being up here earning their trust and then asking them for something in exchange. And really, selling is just an equal energy exchange. If I give you something that blows your mind so much that you want more, then the equal energy exchange is you give me something back called money, and I will continue to improve you, right? Yeah. And so it doesn't have to be this taboo thing. Talk to me about selling on a podcast, or better yet, talk to me about making the most out of when you're on a podcast. Because here's what I see happen all the time. People get themselves booked on podcasts and they, do a great job talking, telling their story. They impress the audience that's listening. And then when the podcast is over, the listener goes back to the kids tugging on them, mommy, make me food. Or they get out of the car and they go into work, or, you know what I mean? Like they stop thinking about you, the person that they just listened to and loved what you had to say. So how do you convert? Because conversion is your thing. How do you convert someone from someone who just listened to you on a podcast to somebody who will actually end up on your list or end up as a client?
Well, I mean, obviously you need an offer. You need some sort of action to take. And usually it's one step. And so it's either, text this number or download this one thing or, grab this book, whatever it is. So first of all, I think there needs to be clarity in terms of the offer. And it becomes a superpower an accelerant when the offer is really aligned with the message.
Yeah.
And so what most people do is if they're on a podcast or they're doing a webinar, a lot of the time they go into their course for all the content they're going to share in the podcast or the webinar. So they go, what's some really cool content that I know that I can teach that's really helpful? And then I'm just going to make an offer. And the problem a lot of the time is that if you're trying to speak to sell, the content is quite different to what's in your course. Because the course is all of the tactical practicals and the how-to with some motivation, where a presentation that sells or a podcast that sells it's a lot more heavy on the motivational.
Yeah.
But the problem is sometimes people think that's not valuable. So they'll be like, oh, so it's just like being pushy. And it's not. Because, I mean, one of the shifts of content is, first of all, you have to remove resistances.
Yeah.
So whatever you're selling, one of the first questions you should ask yourself is, what's wrong with what I'm selling? And when you work out what's wrong or what's difficult or what's hard or what gets in the way with what I'm selling, and you teach that content to kind of essentially taking the emergency brake off people's minds and hearts, what happens is it prepares them to actually say yes. Because a lot of the time people come in and they think they're committed, but they're not really. Like I know for me, when we were looking at moving to the US, I spoke with my wife about doing it for about 3.5 years. And I picked people's brains, love a good brain pick, and took them out to coffee and spoke with everyone, researched. And by the end of it, I was more confused and a little bit less committed than what I was at the start.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. And I remember the day we were like, are we going to actually do this? And my wife and I were like, yeah, let's go all in on this. We should. And so what did we do? We hired an immigration attorney. We hired an international business lawyer. And literally within 6 months, we landed in the US.
Wow.
And it all started because what we actually needed was just a decision.
Yeah.
We needed a commitment, and then we needed to follow someone's process that's already done it before.
Yeah.
And so rather than trying to fluff around with fluffing around with AI, my kids call it kerfuffling around. Maybe you're kerfuffling around with AI, and that's good to get you kind of started. But to actually achieve a result, like find someone who's done it before and join their program or start with something in their experience and just follow that process. That's how you get a result.
This book is basically a chance for people to follow the process, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into the book, I want to ask, why'd you write it? It's a great title, by the way, One Presentation Away. And I'm actually going to read this little tidbit I took off your website because it's so good. It says, this book is your step-by-step guide to becoming an irresistible speaker who connects, captivates, and converts without feeling salesy. Hence the conversation that we just had. I mean, that's really freaking good. So why did you commit to writing this book? And I want to clarify for the audience. Here's why I'm asking this question. Books don't make money. I mean, maybe 1 out of 20,000 books make money, right? Like Rachel Hollis, her book that popped off and sold millions and millions. That was like her 5th book. You know what I mean? So books don't make money typically. Books eat up a year of your life between the writing, editing, and launching. Books eat up all of your bandwidth. So you sacrifice something in your business or in your marriage or as a father. Why did you commit to what it took to write this book?
For me, writing a book, first of all, it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I think if in the coaching expert space, a book it's a positioning piece.
Yeah.
It's an authority piece. There is an enigma about a book.
Yeah.
It gives you a level of authority. So first of all, like one of the pieces was obviously in just building the business. It's strategic. But at the core of it, for me, it was I wanted to really spend the time to crystallize all the work I'd been doing over the last 10 years and put it into some sort of format that people could use and could get access to it at basic, a price of a taco, a California taco.
Yeah.
And, Yeah, I would say, and I think part of it as well, it's a little bit selfish of like, I just wanted to do it to prove to myself that I could do it.
Yeah.
Because it is a big undertaking. And I found out kind of early or later on in my life that like I do struggle with dyslexia actually, like level of dyslexia. And so typing and writing was tough for me. So guys, if you read it and there's some spelling errors, don't blame me.
Yeah, give him some slack.
Blame the editor. Shout out to Wiley. But for me, it was more like a test of going like, can I actually do this? It was just one of those projects. And so I'm really excited about it because I feel like this was actually, I kind of joke with this, but I'm also serious. When I sent it off to my editor, I said, look guys, I've read a lot of books in this space on this topic. Like I'd done the research and my goal was to write the best freaking book in this topic in the world.
Yeah.
And when I sent it off, I was like, I feel like I've done that.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's true based on the feedback. But I genuinely feel in my heart, I'm like, I'm so flipping proud of this thing. It's a beast. Like the book is dialed. And it's got cool stories, emotive stories with really tactical stuff and strategy. And so if anyone feels that desire in their heart to want to speak, my goal is to unlock that in them and to show them how to make money doing it. Yeah.
What's your favorite chapter or favorite lesson in the book?
Oh, I mean, one of my favorite chapters is the ending, the last chapter, which is the I Believe in You chapter. But I'll leave that for people to want to read that. That's a really cool story. I would say from favorite chapter. I mean, there's lots of strategy stuff in there, but personally, I just love the mindset stuff.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people say mindset stuff isn't practical, but the mindset stuff is the stuff that really changes your life. Like you get a new idea, a different perspective, and the stuff on selling, getting past, feeling comfortable selling and what an offer really is and feeling comfortable actually making an offer, not feeling pushy. Like you make that shift and then the speaking a lot of the time will come easier when you feel really congruent about your offer and you understand who your audience is and you feel excited about it. It's like you can't not share that when you feel good about it. So that for me is like really exciting. The process of the book is essentially getting ready to speak. So it's like the offer, the audience, the psychology. Then it's building the presentation. So it's designing the whole presentation from how do you touch people's hearts, shift people's minds, equip their hands, and then move their feet, get them to do something. And there's strategies in there. There's an idea called infusion selling, which infusion selling is one of my trademarked ideas around basically how do you speak and sell at the same time? You infuse the selling in the speaking. And then it closes with how do you even get on stages? And so there's a whole like accelerant.
How to pitch yourself.
How do you pitch yourself on a stage, build your own stage, which is my favorite one, like hosting your own event or your own online event. So that's kind of the flow of the book. So
I'm going to ask you about two of those things specifically. Yeah. Teach us a little more about infusion selling. What is it? How does it work?
So infusion selling is the idea, the mistake that most people make is they speak and then they sell. So they speak for 45 minutes and then they do this really awkward transition. Their cool factor goes to zero. Everyone feels awkward, including the audience and themselves. And then they sell, right? And so that usually feels really clunky. Yeah. And infusion selling...
You can feel it. It feels like someone flipped a switch. It's terrible.
Totally.
It's terrible.
So
especially
weird.
On a webinar.
Yeah, totally. Now, you still have to sell. You still have to make an offer. You still have to make an invitation. But if you infusion sell, which is essentially you're teaching really valuable content while also creating a desire for the offer at the same time. When you get to the offer, the audience goes, oh, this is exactly what I want. And it's almost like you kind of need to teach them what to want in the presentation. And you don't do it in a really aggressive way. You can do it in story. So story is an infusion selling strategy, right? So telling the right types of stories, like your conversion story, is an infusion selling strategy. Another infusion selling strategy is like micro decisions. Micro decisions are asking people to make small commitments through the presentation to themselves, to their own goals, so that when you get to the last point of like would you like to take this next step?
Oh, that's good.
They've already got a muscle. They've already been doing reps of like making decisions. And so that's just another decision. So that's infusion selling. Another idea of infusion selling is doing really great case studies. So the power of a case study is telling a story with some facts, but essentially allows the audience to see themselves in the case study. And you're not selling the program, you're telling a story and you're unpacking some ideas and you're teaching some content. But everyone knows they're thinking, this is really helpful. I'm learning these strategies, but I want to be that person. Yeah. How do I be that person?
Yeah.
Oh, that person was in your program. And you don't even have to say that explicitly. Hey, let me tell you about one of our members. She went from this, she was in this challenge. She had this, one of my members, she's a mum from Buffalo, New York. She's got a young son. She was having trouble basically building a business because her young son's got some disabilities. And she also had this desire to help and grow a business. And she came to me and she was like so stressed out. And I said, hey, why don't you just build one presentation that you can deliver over and over again? And she built one presentation. She works with professional people in the wedding space. And she delivers one presentation a week. She literally just messaged me. Her name's Lindsay. Shout out to Lindsay. She messaged me on Instagram yesterday. And she's like, Colin, I'm doing $20,000 a month now, working part-time, and I've got time to look after my family and kids now. And she goes, I just deliver the same presentation once a week to different wedding groups. And I went from doing $1,000, $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month consistently. And so for me, like that, that's why I create my programs, my books, all that sort of stuff. But that's another example of, and if you're watching this, listening to this, go, what are some stories I can tell that when you tell them, it just naturally creates a desire for your audience to want to go, hey, how do I do that? Kind of thing. So yeah.
One more thing that you said was in the book that I said I wanted you to go a little further on was you said, you explained in there how to get on a stage, how to pitch yourself. I get this question a lot, like a lot from people in our masterminds, that kind of thing. Like, hey, I want to speak on stages. How do I pitch myself? How do I get on a stage? What are your tips there?
Well, first of all, I think you need to make a decision that you speak.
Interesting.
And so what I mean by that is, putting that on your website that you speak, putting that on your bio in your Instagram or your LinkedIn. So it first of all starts with you deciding that you speak, because the world will respond to what you decide. The second thing is, I think, start with your own presentation, your own stages. Like host a webinar with 5 people on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like start putting yourself out there and showing the world that you speak energetically. The third thing is, depending on where you want to speak, for me, a lot of the time it's done through relationships. Like I know you asked me to speak, but I think was it your sister-in-law or something who'd done one of my courses or?
That's right. Who was it? It was, shoot, I should know this.
Like
someone had taken one of your courses and was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever taken.
Yes.
And then I was like, wait, you need to teach that to the mastermind.
Yes. So that was like an invitation, but I would say the relationships is a big one, being in other people's programs. So like being in a program like yours, being in a program like mine or other people's programs, you build a relationship with people and then you refer them. And then, to be frank, asking.
Yep.
Like sometimes just literally asking, hey, I've got this great presentation.
Here's what I teach. Here's why I'd be of value.
Exactly. And I know you've got a group. Let me know if that would be valuable. If it isn't, totally fine. And it's, you've got a key topic and a key idea. You could send an email. But a lot of the time it's been through a referral or a friend or something like that. A relationship has been... The speaking to be paid is like a slightly different strategy. But for me, I don't think that's the goal. That's not the goal for me. I don't think it's necessarily the right goal for most people. Yeah. I think you're better off just speaking for free, having an opt-in or having some sort of offer. And then depending on the context. And so, yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. For 99 out of 100 people, it'll be way more profitable in the long run doing that.
Yeah.
When's the book come out?
It's in October.
Okay.
It's a good, okay. I think it's October. Don't quote me on it. I'll have to have a look. It's like
mid-October. And you can pre-order it right now?
You can pre-order it right now.
Where do they go?
So onepresentationawaybook.com. If you go to onepresentationawaybook.com, it has a link to almost every site in the world that you can buy it on. If you want to, Amazon's probably one of the easiest, but there's a bunch of other sites that you can grab it on, anywhere where good books are sold. And so One Presentation Away book, if you go there, you can find what country you're in, go and grab it. And then if you grab the receipt number, go back to the page, One Presentation Away, put your first name and the receipt number and email. And we're building at the moment like a whole flurry of pre-order bonuses.
Oh, cool.
And so we've only started the first one. So when this gets released, there'll probably be another one and there'll be more. So if you sign up and get this pre-order, I'll make sure you get all the pre-order bonuses. So
that's cool.
The first one is, I'm calling it the Step on Stage Confident Guide. And so it is the 12 mantras, the 7 questions, and the 1 activity I do every time before I speak to access like full confidence.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a really simple guide. AI didn't create it. It's been something I've been using for 10 years. And it's a really unique structure that I've put into a simple guide that people can use right away.
onepresentationawaybook.com.
Yeah.
Onepresentationawaybook.com. Of course, it's in the show notes. You can go to show notes, click on it, and then get that receipt number, come back, get the bonuses.
Yeah.
Do this for me. Put a bow on this thing by speaking directly to the person who you hope goes out and buys this book. Like, who exactly is that?
For me, it's the person that knows that they have an important message in their heart, and maybe they've been afraid to really go after that message. Maybe they've started their business, they've got a little bit of clients, they've got some momentum going, but they know that there's a whole nother level of them communicating their message and selling their offers that they have been holding back from.
Yeah.
And maybe they're telling themselves that, they're not ready, they're afraid, they don't want to be pushy, or they're not, maybe they don't think they're good enough, whatever it is. For me, I built it for the person that, because there's lots of strategy stuff in there, but the essence of it is for them to be able to believe in themselves. That's like the core message of the book, is for them to be able to see the gold that's within them and to do that so that they can actually create the freedom, the financial freedom for their families, for their lives, so that they can give and serve their communities and create the life they always desired. So that when they're 90 years old, they're sitting on their rocking chair and they go, I really went for it.
Yeah.
I freaking went for it. And I'm stoked. And I didn't hold back. And for me, stepping on stage takes a lot of courage. And so it's awakening that courage in them.
I love that. Speaking of not holding back and believing in themselves, do you have any goals for this book? Anything you want to proclaim out loud right now? Hit any lists, sell any certain number, anything like that?
I mean, for me, what comes to mind is someone sitting in their armchair with their light on in the evening. They've got their kids down and they're reading this book, and it's hitting them in their heart.
Cool.
That's my goal.
That's cool.
And if we hit some good bestsellers, that'll be awesome. But for me, like, I think about how cool is that someone would literally be reading my book in Sweden or Texas, and I may never meet them, but I get to meet them through the book. Like, that's sick.
That's really cool. That has a
hope.
long tail to it of impact, and that's really awesome. Well, Colin, I'm so grateful that you took time to fly across the world and come be on the show. I can't wait to celebrate when your book comes out. In the meantime, everyone, do me a huge favor. If you feel like you got value, do 2 things. 1, go to onepresentationawaybook.com, get your pre-order in. I'm just a huge believer in take that extra step, go order the book. You're going to be better off when you read it, and you're always helping somebody else. And of course, that goes around, comes around. That's the first thing I want you to do. Go to onepresentationawaybook.com, pre-order the book. The second thing is, if this episode did anything for you, or if you just want to show Colin's support, tag both of us on Instagram with your biggest takeaway. Whether it was takeaway about how to get on stage, or takeaway about sales and why it's okay, or a takeaway about anything. Do us a favor, tag us both on Instagram with what your biggest takeaway was. That fuels us to keep doing shows like this, and it means the world to both of us. Colin, congrats on the book, buddy. You're going to absolutely smash it. It's going to help a jillion people be better at getting on stage, speaking on stage, and of course, converting into sales.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening. And if you loved this episode and know of someone else who is as successful as they are generous, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this cause and this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, it goes a long way if you take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful. And until the next episode,
Cheers to your success.